So we're going to talk about SMART goals, how to, why to, and give some examples. The first thing to think about is you want to have something that you want to change. And we do that by doing a self-assessment about what in our life do we want to maybe achieve, not maybe, what we want to achieve this semester. And when we think about what we want to achieve over the next 14 weeks, it can be in any one of those dimensions that was discussed in the earlier module. So it can be emotional, occupational, physical, financial, any of those. No matter what you decide to attack, we make up a plan that has a specific outcome. And to reach that outcome, we make goals. And so the goal itself, to be successful, it's been shown in the literature that it needs to have the characteristics that are SMART. This helps us to give us an opportunity to see how we're doing, if we're doing well, if we need to make changes, and also some assessment of does it have some meaning to you. When we look at goals, they can either be short-term or long-term. A short-term goal is somewhat like an objective. It is something that is going to have kind of like a step to take to get to that big outcome or that big long-term goal. A short-term goal can be thought about as being the steps or the stairs, the individual stairs that go up the staircase to the top, to the next floor. So if your long-term goal is at the top of the stairs, your short-term goals or your objectives are to take one step at a time. So a goal is usually a desired outcome that you want over a longer period of time. It's more of a broad statement, and your objectives are your individual short-term goals. And we want to be sure that we're measuring things that allows us to see, are we being successful, and do we need to make adjustments? So I'm going to look at each one of these in a minute, okay? So the SMART, the S in SMART means specific, and it means that you have something focused, clear, easy to understand, and then there are the individual components underneath that we'll look at more clearly in just a couple slides. The M means measurable. It's data, it's percentage, it's tracking. It's meaningful, sensible, and it has a way for you to determine, am I making progress? Is it substantial progress? Do I need to adjust, back off? It is measurable, and so tracking is going to be really important. The A means attainable or achievable. It means that it's something that is realistic that you can achieve within a given time frame. It's not too easy, not too hard, it's just right. The R means relevant. It means that it's important to you. It meets your values. It's important in your personal life, your professional life. It's worthwhile. It's something that has significance to you, not necessarily to others around you. And this is not, this could be a big change, especially for individuals that are just leaving their, for freshmen, sophomores, when they have to make their own decisions. This is about, it has to be relevant to you. And finally, the T means that we set target dates. It means that we're not going to try, we're going to do. We set reasonable, or we set our goals, our time frame in a way that is going to be possible, but also adjustable if needed, because SMART goals are always adjustable as we move forward. And other considerations to think about could be, these are just a couple ideas, and I'll mention it again. Is it something that you have control over, or does it depend on what others do? Is there sometimes something that you need to do first before you set that second goal? Example would be, I want to run a marathon, but I've never run a race in my life. So perhaps it would be a good thing to try a 5K and achieve that goal, and then maybe a 10K, and then perhaps a half marathon, and then you'll be ready to move to the full marathon. So sometimes we need to take a step back and have success in an earlier developmental area. So here is an example. This is often how we start. We'll say, I'm lonely, I want to meet more people. That's what I want to do this semester. Here is a way to make it smart. I want to make new friends. That's my outcome. So how am I going to do it? You think about ways that you want to do it. I'm going to attend at least one social activity every week for the next 4 months. And here are some examples that I'm going to do. So let's look at those a little bit more carefully with a different example. So this one is related to having a lot of stress and anxiety in life and deciding I want to do better. And to make this, to be more likely to be successful, it's not I'm just going to do it. You want to set a plan forward. And it takes a little investigation to see how am I going to do this. So you might need to do a little bit of soul searching and maybe even a little bit of searching with others to get some ideas about how to reach your goal. And utilizing, in this case, an evidence-based anxiety management skill would be a way to improve or reduce anxiety and work stress, or to manage it better. An example is a grounding. Grounding is an example of an evidence-based anxiety management skill. This skill perhaps might include attending therapy, learning about grounding, practicing the technique, and it's on me to do that. I'm not going to rely on anybody else. I have to determine what do I want to accomplish, who is going to be involved, why it's important, and how am I going to get this done to make it specific. The M, I have a lot of anxiety. I still have what am I going to do? I have to make it measurable. And to make it measurable, you want to consider how much time, how frequent, how am I going to measure it, and how do I know if I've done it? And some thoughts are, if you think about that grounding technique, you're going to think, okay, at least 3 days a week when I'm feeling anxious, I'm going to practice this technique. I'm going to measure it in a journal, and I'm going to use a scale, this anxiety scale, to measure it. And for me to know that it's accomplished, I'm going to look at, and this is related to this specific scale, lowering 2 to 3 points on the scale is my target. So I have to do some investigation, some research to determine how am I going to do this, to be able to determine what's reasonable and what could be accomplished. So that takes us to the T, which is at the end of the SMART. You want to think about, when am I going to start? When do I want to reach my decrease in the scale of 2 to 3? Is this time frame, what's a realistic time frame? Do I need to make an adjustment? So I can start tomorrow. I'm going to measure it 3 times a week. I'm going to use that scale, and off I go. A, achievable. Is it achievable? So for this, I have to think about, what do I need? Do I have some resources I need? I have to think about what's in my way, and that's kind of looking at limitations or barriers. And sometimes we have to think about some alternatives. What am I going to do when I have these limitations? You need to address those and plan for them. Is it too easy or too hard? Well, if you're looking at just starting to reduce those symptoms and not think about everything's going to be fixed in 2 weeks, that's not achievable. NR, the realistic or relevant, is really thinking, why do I want to do this? Is it something that's going to help me in other areas of my life? Am I going to be able to have better relationships? I'm going to be able to do better academically in my workplace. I'm going to have better sleep. Validating how this behavior change is going to help you in your life is going to help you to put more meat or skin in the game. You want to make sure that it fits with what else you're doing in your life, right? So you're in school right now. Would this improving your anxiety and your work stress help you with your goal of being successful in school? Absolutely. So it's in line. And is this the right time? If it's not the right time now, then you think about, well, maybe there's something else that would be better for me to do at this time. So here's the updated goal. Starting tomorrow, during the next 4 months, I will learn a grounding technique and practice it at least 3 days per week to help reduce my anxiety symptoms at least by 2 scale points. And this is your starting point. So if we're looking at what we're going to start with, we have our long-term plan of 4 months, and then we're going to break it down into 2-week increments and monitor ourselves and reflect on it. We need to, we'll probably revisit it every few modules. We'll adjust it and we'll apply what we learn in the different modules, because all of wellness, you are not just a brain, a body, a work person, your bank account. You are the whole thing.